President Donald Trump has followed through on his threat to sue media mogul Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal. Less than 24 hours after that newspaper published an article saying that Trump sent his then friend, Jeffrey Epstein, a bawdy birthday letter back in 2003. The lawsuit filed on Friday seeks at least $10 billion in damages, arguing the supposed letter is a fake and the defendants knew it when they chose to deliberately defame President Trump. The journal's publisher, Dow Jones, pushed back, saying in a statement, quote, "We have full confidence in the rigor and accuracy of our reporting and will vigorously defend against any lawsuit." Meanwhile, the Justice Department on Friday asked a federal judge to unseal grand jury transcripts tied to the criminal cases of Epstein and his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. And I have some new reporting that emerged over the weekend. My colleague Ashley Parker for The Atlantic about the strategy the White House has tried to put forth to quell this firestorm about Epstein. They considered appointing a special counsel. They considered last week, before the Journal story, releasing more material. They even thought that President Trump might want to have daily news conferences to address this, a la those he had during the COVID pandemic in 2020. Trump nixed all those, and there were some in Trump world who thought those news conferences in particular would have been a bad idea. Some of the firestorm on the right has quieted down in recent days, Ali Vitale. President Trump has done a pretty good job sort of unifying his base to go after a common foe, in this case, the Wall Street Journal. Yeah. Some of those on the right who were very critical of Trump and his handling of Epstein, demanding to know more, now are questioning the authenticity of this letter. As we noted, the Journal, of course, stands by it. So let's get into the next phase of this. There are rumblings that more revelations could be coming. The White House is eager to turn the page, but it's Monday. He's going to get questions about it. He hasn't taken questions from the press in a few days. You know they're coming the next time a reporter sees them. Speaker Johnson, in particular, was one of those who defied him last week and said, look, we need to know more. What's the latest you're hearing from Republicans on the Hill and in the greater GOP ecosphere, what they want next?
I think Johnson might have defied him, but as soon as the headlines started popping that Johnson was demanding more transparency, just as Trump was saying, let's cool it and back off of this issue, Johnson made clear to say, no, I think those headlines are overstating what I said there. So he's trying to toe this line. And if Johnson really did want more transparency, he's actually got procedural options before him from a legislative perspective, because there's a bipartisan push from Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna to compel the Justice Department to release and be transparent on the Jeffrey Epstein case. They moved a procedural motion on this in a non-binding fashion at the end of last week. They weirdly kind of coupled it together with the crypto resolution and bill that they ended up passing. But it's not expected that we'll actually see movement on that. And then separately, J-Mart, you've got this discharge petition that could get ripe for the floor by the time they get back in September. That's a long ways to go, though. And I think, to me, if I look on the Hill, there's only a few tangible ways that they end up getting more answers to this. And yes, one of them might be a discharge petition. But the one that really has my attention is Senator Ron Wyden saying, in the last year of the Biden administration, I got a look from the Treasury Department at some financial transactions that show wire transfers and other items related to Epstein and who might have been doing business with him. In Wyden's words, that's thousands of leads that you could go down of following the money. Is that one of the avenues where people get something tangible out of this? Is it from Dick Durbin, who's trying to lobby DOJ for more information? I mean, is there a space here that actually gets people more?
I think it's only whatever Trump and his DOJ wants to hand over. I just don't think that ultimately this Congress is going to press Trump on something he doesn't want to be pressed on. We've seen this on the Lindsey Graham sanctions bill against Russia that, we were told could happen in the June work period. Well, it's now July 20th, 21st, and it's not moving because Trump doesn't want it. Trump is going to hand over what he wants to hand over on this. Look, I think if that discharge petitionality had been maybe moved last week at the sort of white-hot core of this story, maybe would have a shot. I just think by the time they come back in September, the idea of a GOP majority taking up that to sort of create a bad story for Trump after Labor Day is really unlikely.